Good evening, everybody. Welcome in to tonight's episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast. I am Tyler Johnson. I am joined by Zach DeFranco and Jack Robinson. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Hey, I remembered this time.
You did.
I remember this time.
You did. We're going to have a fun ad read, that's for sure.
That's
now
right.
That Jack remembered his shirt. Zach, how you doing, man?
You're muted, man.
I think Zach's muted. I unmuted him.
I take a week off, and that's what happens. I take a week off, and I just forget how to do everything. Couldn't connect my AirPod. Couldn't. Yep. Here we are. We're back.
How you doing, man?
Doing good, boys. Coming off a W. See, I think I knew that when, taking a week off, we would win again. I think I just knew, like, intuitively. So we're good.
It was fate.
Back.
It was clearly fate. There is a lot to discuss tonight. A lot that is not Browns related. But before we get to any of that, we do want to just take a minute and we want to hear from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops, and Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter code 216 and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today. And anyone that's watching the show tonight on Twitter, join us on YouTube. You can, you could subscribe to the YouTube channel for free. And also, if you would drop a like on the video, it helps the channel grow and the YouTube algorithm increase. So we would really appreciate that. And you're entered in for exclusive giveaways that we have available to only our YouTube subscribers. Gentlemen, there was just a horrific incident that we saw play out on Monday Night Football that we have to discuss a little bit here. Bills safety Damar Hamlin made a tackle on Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, and immediately after that stood up and fell to the turf. It was later proven that he suffered cardiac arrest on the field and is now in critical condition in Cincinnati Hospital. I don't know about you guys, but it was hard for me personally to at least want to talk football today. It's still just surreal. And I think overall with this whole situation, it shows us as fans of the game that these aren't just athletes. These are human beings. These are people that truly, if you think about it, not just even tearing an ACL, they are risking their lives when they go out in that football field. And I think we saw that on Monday night.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell how much of a brotherhood it is too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, because the whole football world it's stopped. It's frozen right now. No one's talking about we should be talking about how that was one of the best games we've ever watched this season, and instead something so tragic happens. And seriously, something you don't ever want to see. We hope we never see again. And prayers go out to him and his family for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head there, Tyler, is that we watch this game every week for 4 or 5 months, and, people get hurt, they tear their ACL, they, tear a pec, they get banged up. Everyone at this point in the season is banged up, and we all know that, but just to see something like that, a mundane hit that ends up becoming, at some point there, you could have easily seen, Damar Hamlin being declared dead. His heartbeat was stopped. He was essentially dead on the field. For something like that to happen, especially on such a big stage in front of the whole country on Monday Night Football, it really, I think, is a big wake-up call to a lot of people of just this is not just a game where the most talented people, go out there and, sure, they suffer injuries, but, for the most part, they're in such good shape and they're basically invulnerable. These are people who are at risk every day. They go out there and they put their body on the line. And, I think it opens up a lot of people's eyes that you need to respect these people and how much they how much work they put in, and also just how much they put at stake every single day when they go out there.
And I think too, Jack, about this whole situation, it says a lot. And I want to commend the Bengals. I want to commend the Bills. These players that had to witness this happen. And I can't imagine what that situation was like. But then having, and I am going to say courage, to walk off the field and not play this game, because I don't know for sure. I have a feeling the NFL still wanted to finish this game, and the players made this decision that we can't do this. And I think that goes a long way too, is that right now football does not matter. The only thing that matters that Damar Hamlin sounds like he's slowly improving, which is great, but he's still not, it sounds like, breathing 100% on his own. This is a man. A young player that is fighting for his life right now. And it just goes way, way beyond football. I mean, I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to listen to some of the press conferences today. David Njoku, Greg Newsome, Nick Chubb. David Njoku was asked if he thinks it's too early to practice. He paused for nearly a minute before answering that question. Like, it affects these guys. Like, regardless if you know him personally or not, it affects every player around the league right now, this situation.
Well, I mean, I think it has to. I mean, because when you see something like that happen, it's just so out of the blue. There's nothing that happened beforehand that made you think that this was a possibility. And now they know, if I get hit and tackled the wrong way, I could have the same thing happen to me. And now I'm sure that this is an extremely rare occurrence. Obviously, I mean, there are thousands of plays every single day. So this isn't something that's going to happen every single game or even every couple of years or anything. This is really like a once in history that this has happened. But it's always going to be there in the back of their mind now. Like, guys are always like, oh, well, I could get a non-contact injury. Oh, I can get, someone can roll my legs and tear my ACL or blow out my knee or something like that. I can get a concussion. But now it's like, if someone hits me with their elbow or their helmet in my chest at the wrong moment, I can crumple to the ground and have a heart attack. I mean, that has to be so terrifying for these guys, especially considering that it happened to some guy that's so young and he's only been in the league for a couple of years. So, like, having that happen to these guys, I'm sure is just going to be another layer of stress and anxiety that they have to deal with on a daily basis, on top of just all the other stuff they have to do.
Yeah, it's just so hard, like, this whole situation. I mean, I constantly am refreshing Twitter just to see if we can get any type of update, any type of good news, just because when that happened Monday night, man, I'm not kidding. I was like shook. I couldn't believe, because the thing for me, I couldn't believe I just saw that happen on TV. It's different if, like, certain things happen, like an injury or something, and we don't necessarily catch it. When it happens and you see that, let alone be in person watching that, it hits you, man. Like, and I think this whole situation too, it really gives you faith in humanity. I mean, there are so many people that as a result of this are coming together. All the NFL teams changing their profile picture on Twitter to pray for Damar with the number 3. Cincinnati lighting up with blue and red. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse doing the same thing tonight. It gives me a lot of faith in humanity that, I mean, there's so many bad things going on in the world, but this is the type of thing that can unite everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
and I mean, obviously on the field, it's all like competitive and we want to see our team win. But when you take away all the lights and cameras, these are just guys playing a game, and we all just like watching guys play a game. And when something like this happens, it doesn't matter what fan base you are, what team you support or whatever. Like the NFL community and the football community at large, I think, is a very large collective of people who understand just how serious it is that this thing can happen, and they can put aside differences in order to support a cause that is bigger than football. It's about a guy who, for all intents and purposes, is upstanding, really nice guy, really great for his community, and he's going through a terrible thing. And we can all kind of just put aside any sort of, petty things to come together to support a family that in need, because that's really what it is. It's his family, it's his close relatives, it's its teammates. So I really love that. Also, just a shout out to the medical personnel that ran out there and were able to immediately get on CPR and get his heart back going, because if they had been even like a second late, especially in that kind of situation, seconds matter. So
I see a great comment by Josh. I was going to hit on this, Josh. I am a Christian as well, and prayer is something that's very important to me. The fact that I saw Dan Orlovsky from ESPN basically say on air, I'm glad you brought this up, Josh. Basically said on air, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, and took the time and said a live prayer on NFL Live. Dude, that really – it's things like that, man. Like, it's unfortunate it takes events like this to really unite people, but that one really spoke to me. So shout out to Dan for doing that. It's gone a long way with me. And if you guys, if you're able to, just so you know, Damar Hamlin's foundation, his toy drive, but now it's going to go to his foundation. It has raised $6.8 million. The goal was $2,500. So if you guys are able to, the link is right there in the chat. If you guys can, spare $5, $10. I know it would mean a lot, and it's any little donation that goes a long way. Or if it's just changing your profile picture to pray for Damar, all that goes a long way. I mean, just today, Jim Irsay and the Colts donated $25,000. I mean, it's just Tom Brady as Russell Wilson, Andy Dalton and his wife. I mean, just phenomenal, guys. The fact that you're seeing this type of support for, I'm going to be honest, a player I didn't know about until this happened. But a lot of people do. Everything I can hear, though, about him, dude, he's a stand-up young man. He actually went to Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys knew this. He went to the University of Pittsburgh. The reason he did, to give his brother a role model growing up that was close to home. Yeah. So it's just the little things like that, man, just go a long way. So I know that really went a long way with me. And just seeing everyone gather around, just gather like that, man. Just gather like that. So it's awesome to see. Again, the link is in the description for you guys. If you have any other questions, you can always send us a DM at FD Podcast CLE. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about regarding that situation. Is there anything? Last thing really to talk about, though, is Joe Burrow made a comment earlier. I mean, honestly, it's about an hour or two before we hopped on. Players weren't really consulted about playing this week. How do you guys feel about that? Do you believe that there should be a pause just in overall NFL action? How do you guys feel about that? Because Joe Burrow made it sound like they're not too happy with the NFL right now.
So he made it kind of seem like the NFLPA and the NFL really aren't kind of getting it's kind of bad on that end.
They're taking it seriously, but they weren't even asked if they could potentially postpone this game against the Ravens coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a difficult situation, especially considering that Damar isn't awake yet and that he's still in the ICU and that he's still in critical condition. It's definitely going to be difficult to really ask the players, especially players that were involved in the game. And I mean, this has affected everyone in the league. Everyone in the league has come out and shown their support for this and has shown that this has really hit them close to home, and shows that this is more than just oh, hey, we need a second to cool off and think about this has really affected a lot of players. So I think it's possible that they could have postponed the game? I think they could, but I think that the NFL is going to continue on with their schedule. I just don't know if they can, especially because of the way that the playoffs are scheduled currently. And if they even want to have a chance to then replay the Bills versus Bengals, which I don't know, we could actually talk about that if you guys think that game will ever be played or ever finished. But I mean, I just don't think that I don't think that the NFL is going to try to push back any games. I think that they want to keep to their schedule, considering that I don't know if they really have the time to push everything back a week. And that sucks. I want the players to be able to have a whole week to really be able to digest this situation. And then maybe once Damar is awake, or maybe once he's in a much better situation and we know that he's going to make it through, and people have have had time to digest it, then allow play to come back, because I think that will allow people to really get themselves together mentally and not have it be a huge point of contention for a lot of people.
I think overall, it's just, I mean, it's tough. If the NFL really wanted to, they have the power to do that. But again, they're not.
But do they want to put in the effort to do it?
That's where it's at. I mean, I think, to me, it's more alarming that we've heard more from the NFLPA, and all we got from Roger Goodell was a statement. Roger Goodell hasn't said a word outside of one paper statement that he put out. So I think that's just kind of the NFL. They really, I think, just want to move on. Truly. I mean, they want to focus on this week's games. They want to get to the playoffs. And to answer your question, Jack, they're not going to play this game. If they were going to play this game, they were going to have to play it this week. And then the other situation is you're not going to play it next week because the playoffs begin. At that point, after this week, that game's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You could declare it, and I think they're going to. They're going to declare it a no contest or a tie. And then that really doesn't affect anything because the Bengals could still win the AFC North. They can win it this weekend. The Bills have already won the AFC East. So I don't think they're going to play it. I mean, Zach, what are your thoughts?
No, I don't see there's any way they could play it. I mean, I just don't know. Do they just finalize it as the score it was? Because there are certain types of AFC implications that are very important for that game. So, that is the only argument. But I feel like this late into the season, it's just a tough situation too. So like you guys said earlier, them saying they weren't asked about playing this week. I think the NFL just expects them to be ready to play, which is wrong in a sense. But at the same time, it is so late into the season. It's literally the last week of the season, and all these playoff implications are on the line, and seeding is on the line now, basically. So in a sense, it is a tough situation for the NFL and the NFLPA. So.
Well, and I wonder almost do you think the players would even want to play in that game? Or do you think they'd rather take the tie or no contest and just say, hey, we'd rather play in a different game with new circumstances, move on from that terrible night and just, call it what it is and move forward with the current seeding. And they'll essentially have just played 16 games rather than 17 and kind of just take the records as they lie at the current moment, because I don't see how they would want to and plus how would they do it? Would they go back to the exact moment of the game that it ended? I mean, that I feel like that would just be it would feel weird. It wouldn't be right. They the players just wouldn't want to do that, especially if Damar is still in critical condition or something. It would almost feel wrong to do that. So I feel like that you would have a hard sell even trying to get that game rescheduled. And even a harder sell trying to have the players actually buy into wanting to go and play that game.
Yeah, that's the other part of this too. I mean, there's trauma for some of these players off of that game. Do they really want to go and revisit that? Do they really want to go back to Cincinnati where this all occurred and Damar might still be in that hospital? Do they really want to do that? Because I don't think they do.
No.
I think they're going to end up making this a tie. I think that's the best way to do it, even though the Bengals were winning at the time. I don't personally think that the teams really, they just want to move on as far as they don't want to have to go back to that. Now, if they meet in the playoffs, that's going to be an interesting situation. But we'll see what happens there. But again, we want to pray for Damar and his family. Going through a lot right now. I can't imagine that situation. But again, guys, if you can, the link is in the description on YouTube, on Facebook. It's also in the chat if you're able to donate $5 or $10 to his charity. I know it would go a long way for him. So, but as we move on, the Browns did end up believe it or not, there is some good news. The Browns did end up winning on Sunday. They ended the Washington Commanders' playoff hopes. The Browns won 24-10 in Washington, with a game that in the first half was just brutal to watch, just from every standpoint. The offensive side of the ball, Washington on offense, it was just hard to watch. So, what were some of your guys' takeaways, just especially watching this first half? Because to me, it was just brutal.
And that first half was not easy to watch. I mean, it was essentially just offensive ineptitude on every scale, every level. The running game was fantastic. They were doing really well, but you couldn't get the passing game going at all. There was no consistency. There was no flow. There was really no momentum at all. You would have like one good play, and then, oh well, now there's 2 bad plays, and now it's a 3 and out, or just, I mean, it was awful in the first half. I mean, you had that awesome interception by Denzel Ward to get you in a short field, and you can't even capitalize it with a touchdown. I mean, the fact that we had 2 turnovers in the first half, and you came out with 3 points. I mean, that's just not good enough. You can't do that and expect to win good football games. Now I understand that like the Washington Commanders are a really good defense. They are, but you need to be better than 3 points off 2 turnovers in an entire first half. I mean, how many total yards did the Browns have? Like 70 or something in the first half? Mm-hmm. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was brutal, man. It was brutal. Zach, what were some of your takeaways from that first half? I mean, it really was hard to watch, and it was really the defense that was carrying the torch for the Browns, really, until that last drive of the first half.
Yeah, and it seemed like that for like the last few weeks too. The defense just kind of carried the torch. But one thing that I really like stood out to me, and I don't know if they're gonna do it. I don't know if it's even like up for debate technically, but dude, I think Riverboat Ron needs to go in Washington. Like the fact that he threw Carson Wentz out there, and didn't he make a comment that he needed a spark or something like that? He made a dumb comment like that too. Mm-hmm. And I know he's a good coach and he's good with the players, and that shows. But that was probably one of the worst coaching decisions with playoff implications on the line I've ever seen. Like Taylor Heineke has energy. He brings the juice. Like they probably would have beat us with Taylor Heineke.
Zach, here's the real question. Did Coach Ron Rivera even know that there was a chance that they could be knocked out of playoff contention? Because that interview after the game when he was like, we can be eliminated? And they told him, and he almost looked like he was brutal, in disbelief. Like, I don't know if I 100% think that he was like completely unaware, but I also wonder, after 2 interceptions, like, I mean, brutal interceptions, bad interceptions, just arm punts, essentially. I mean, just that are not good passes. I don't understand why he didn't just say, screw it, let's just put Taylor Heineke in the game. I mean, the players were the team was getting booed by the fans. Carson Wentz looked completely inept at quarterback. And sure, they went on a 21 play, 11-minute drive to end the second quarter, and they got a touchdown out of it. That's great. But Taylor Heineke is like, at least the players seem like they like him. They seem like they play for him. He seems like a guy who gets it. He understands the offense. The Carson Wentz just looked lost out there, outside of, again, him doing what? Diving over the end zone and getting a touchdown. I mean, that was great for him, but he then went on to do what with the rest of the game? Throw another bad interception. I mean, his decision making is awful. At least Taylor Heineke doesn't make those terrible decisions. He knows he knows about Brian Robinson's existence. Like, the fact that Brian Robinson didn't get like 30 carries on us is a mistake. So
I couldn't believe that.
Like,
I could not believe that.
I understand that you know, they wanted to go with Carson because, you know, they brought him in the offseason. He was supposed to be the guy. But when your playoff hopes on the line and the quarterback that got you in that situation, the quarterback that got you to the point where you were in the playoff hunt, is on the bench, you've made a mistake.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, Taylor Heineke got you to that point. I know he wasn't playing great, but it's not like Carson Wentz is really a better option. I mean, I know one of the things, I mean, they showed it on the broadcast. Taylor Heineke is not the athlete Carson Wentz is. I will say that. But still, I think Washington has a decision coming up in the offseason on what they're going to do at quarterback. I almost wonder if Derek Carr is willing to waive his no trade clause
Mm-hmm.
if Washington is an option that he would be willing to go. I mean, if you put Derek Carr there with Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, McLaurin, John Dotson, Curtis Samuel, you got something there because Washington is loaded as far as with defensive talent on that side of the ball. And I think for me, Jack, and I'm not sure if you saw this as well, I'm not saying the Browns would have lost. If Jonathan Allen doesn't exit this game, it makes you wonder how this ends because Jonathan Allen on that defensive line with Chase Young, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, they were absolutely just crushing that Browns offensive line in the first half. And as soon as Jonathan Allen went out, everything seemed to change.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, the whole first half, Deshaun was running around everywhere. He was trying to just extend the play. And I mean, people weren't getting open, but I mean, he just could not find any space to get the ball out. And in the second half, it seemed like he had way more time. The offensive line was blocking much better, and because he had that time, guys were able to run their proper routes, were able to get open, and it really just opened up the entire game. And it made it so that the run game was a lot more efficient, including Deshaun's own ability to run the ball. So like losing that huge pillar on their defensive line completely opened them up to basically all facets of the Browns offense. And honestly, yeah, I agree that I think that the Browns might still have pulled it out because they did make really good adjustments in terms of how they ended up, covering on defense and like running their offense. But it might have been a lot closer if they still had Allen. So I think that that's 100% something that we have to consider too.
And Josh drops some breaking news here. Joe Thomas is a 2023 NFL Hall of Fame finalist. Congratulations, Joe. That's not a shock at all.
He'll
he should
it.
be. First ballot, no doubt. I mean, the fact that it's going to be in Canton next year for the Hall of Fame game, perfect time for him to make the Hall of Fame his first year. So congratulations to Joe Thomas. Jack, Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Bad first half. There's
yeah.
no way to. But let's also say this: the entire offense, a bad first half, a situation where you had him running for his life because nobody in their right mind could block anybody, and that second half, Deshaun Watson, a franchise quarterback that the Cleveland Browns have been waiting for ever since we came back to Cleveland. The second half performance by Deshaun Watson was spectacular. I mean, he was fantastic. He finished the game 9 of 18, 169, 3 touchdowns, 9.4 yards an attempt. What do you think of Deshaun Watson's performance on Sunday? For me, we saw the glimpses we've been waiting to see. I think it would be unfair to say that that's what we're going to see this Sunday, given the environment Pittsburgh's going to be in. The fact that the Steelers have a fantastic defensive line, I just don't know if we're going to see that exact performance again. But what were you encouraged to see from Deshaun Watson?
Well, it was a lot of just the anticipation, his ability to get the guy, to get the ball to the open man, guys being able to run their routes, and him being able to put balls only where his guys could get them. He like the way he was surveying the field, moving the defense with his eyes, and the way that he was a threat in the run game by himself. I mean, he had a couple of really big running attempts in this game that really opened up the offense because, I mean, it made it so that they couldn't just completely ignore him. They had to keep a guy on him or else they would basically get gashed for like 15, 20 yards. So, I mean, this is what you were expecting from Deshaun. And obviously it's been a rocky couple of weeks since he's come back. But this is really where in the second half where guys were able to get schemed open. And he's able to just immediately punish the defense and hit his guys, survey the defense, make the right pass. I mean, that pass, that 2nd and 18 pass to David Njoku, I mean, that was just a great anticipation play, getting him right to the sticks and getting the first down. I mean, this is what we were expecting, and I'm hoping that this is what we start to see again upcoming on Sunday and what we can take into next year.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing moving forward is that what we want to see is constant improvement. It's not all going to – I mean, the fact that it came together so well on Sunday is just fantastic. And I do have to statement here. If a guy guy's name is Roberto Shenanigans on Twitter. Just one, block the clown, first off and foremost, but two, you should know by that last name Shenanigans that they're just trying to put crap out there. Like, don't let that take away from Watson's performance on Sunday. Don't do it. Because, again, Deshaun Watson played really well in that second half, and you can say outside of those plays, he did this and that. Okay, we'll take away 4 Pat Mahomes touchdowns and tell me what his numbers looked like. Yeah. So just don't go following people like that. Don't go into that because it means nothing. That's just someone that used to be a Baker Mayfield fan that is looking for any type of mistake Watson makes, anything, just to bury him, even though he played well. So, Jack, I just had to say that because I've seen that a lot all over Twitter, and the guy is getting buried by all kinds of fans, and rightfully so, because it's just a ridiculous comment. And if you don't like Deshaun Watson, just say that in the tweet itself, because that's basically what you're doing. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't followed Roberto since he changed his name from Greg F. and Williams. So, so
I did not even know that used to be the case.
Yeah, the good old days when he was a Greg Williams fan account.
That's hilarious. I didn't even know that.
Man.
I've had him blocked for almost a year now, but you can still see when people quote tweet somebody that you blocked. So
there's nothing of value there, so don't worry about it.
Yep. So don't waste your time with that, guys. So Deshaun Watson's performance was very encouraging, no doubt. I think what was also encouraging this game, Nick Chubb got back to running the ball, 14 carries, 104 yards, 7.4 yards a carry. Jack, once again, do you think that had to do with the absence of Jonathan Allen? Because, again, the Browns, I guess in the first half they ran it decently, but really nothing seemed to really click until Jonathan Allen went out of the game. So, I mean, do you think that's the correlation, too, to the offense finding most of their success?
I don't think it was entirely that. I think because Nick was really chunking them early in the game. Like he was a factor. Obviously, a lot of his big runs didn't translate to points, but that wasn't really his fault. I think that the reason that Jonathan Allen might have been a bigger deal is simply because when you have a guy like Deshaun who's able to get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs, not having a guy that can get into the backfield quickly and like make it a big deal for the offensive line to block and keep blocking for Deshaun and give him chances to get out of the pocket, it makes it harder for them to defend everything because now Deshaun realizes, oh, hey, my offensive line can block a lot better because they don't have their best guys in there. There's bigger holes. He can either throw the ball better. He can run the ball better. Makes it so Nick Chubb's job is a lot easier. And Nick Chubb was great in the first half and he was great in the second half. He did exactly what he needed to do. He was absolutely whipping off some huge yards. I mean, he had over 100 yards in this game. And I mean, I don't think that it was all just Jonathan Allen. I think it was him going out, Deshaun getting in a rhythm, being able to run the ball and just having him in that RPO scheme for like for a good portion of the second half really just made it hard for the Commanders to guard Nick or Deshaun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. And also, I think Amari Cooper needs a shout out. This is a guy who's clearly not 100%, battling a hip injury. Played phenomenal on Sunday.
Oh. Is it lagging for me? Hold on. Yeah, I think Tyler froze up. Okay. Yeah, I think Tyler froze up. Yeah, I'm the only one now. But oh gosh, see now this is awkward because I don't have any of the pictures or anything. But kind of going on what Tyler was saying because 100% like when you have a guy like Amari Cooper who is coming off that hip injury, he's been having probably one of the best seasons of his entire career. I mean, he has the most touchdowns of his entire career. He has almost 1,100 yards receiving. I mean, just that turn, cut, and run off the up the sideline was insane. I mean, I thought he was going to step out. I thought he was going to get tackled out of bounds. But I think that really does kind of show that Amari is like a wide receiver one. Like, I think a lot of people were doubting whether or not he was a wide receiver one. He's had a couple of up and down games this season. But the way that he was able to really just get in space, and that's really all you need to do for guys like him, guys like David Njoku, guys like Nick Chubb, get him in space and let him just work their magic. And that's what Amari did. I mean, he went out there, had a huge game that was like a 46-yard catch and run to the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I don't know what else you can really say other than that Amari Cooper showed that he's still a wide receiver one in this league. Two touchdown day, almost like 75 yards receiving. I mean, the guy was fantastic.
Yeah, and sorry guys, lost internet, completely went out. So that's going to be fun for those of you that go back and rewatch the show. So appreciate you holding it down for a minute there, Jack. But
I was wondering if it was me or if it was you. I was like, oh crap.
It's all good. Hey, at least it worked. At least it worked out. But Amari Cooper is one of those guys that people have always questioned if he's a wide receiver one. I've never had those questions. I've always, wherever he's been, kind of been an Amari Cooper fan. I mean, there were rumors when he was with the Raiders that the Browns are going to try and actually trade for him. At that point, it was going to cost like a first-round pick and a huge contract. So it's awesome having him as a member of the Browns. He's huge for this offense, obviously. Huge piece moving forward. Overall, as we're wrapping up the offensive side of the ball, David Njoku had a catch for 21 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones had one catch for 13 yards and a touchdown. Not a whole lot on the offensive side of the ball, even though they picked it up in the second half. But also, I think Kevin Stefanski said they only ran like 46-some plays. I mean, that's not many plays that they got.
Well, I mean, the first half was just so sluggish that they were basically like going like 3 and out, 4 and out a lot of the times. Like there wasn't really a lot of plays to be had in the first half, especially because Washington had that huge drive in the second quarter and completely just soaked up all the clock. So I mean, I'm not surprised that they really didn't really make a lot of plays, because then in the second half, I mean, you get to like the 50-yard line and you throw a 46-yard touchdown, and then you get an interception, and it's like 3 plays later you get another touchdown. So there were a lot of times in this game, like, I mean, I don't know what the time of possession difference was, but I'm assuming it was heavily in favor of the Commanders, because it seemed like they were on the field almost the majority of the game.
Yeah, as far as, I'm going to see if I can find that direct stat. So it looks like as far as time of possession, Washington had it for 33 minutes. Browns had it for 26.
Yeah.
Now, it's not letting me do that by half. If you looked at it by half, Washington would have hugely been in time of possession due to the fact that they had that like 20-play drive at the end of the first half. So I wish I could do it by like half, because that would make things really interesting. But Jack, we're going to move to the defensive side of the ball. It's a question we have to ask, and it's not that I necessarily want to ask it because I still feel a certain way. The Browns' defense the last couple of weeks has looked a lot better. I think there's I mean, and it's great that they have looked better. The question that I have to ask, Jack, is Joe Woods 100% gone? And the reason I have to ask this, every time it seems like his back is up against the wall, like, oh, he's fired, he's gone. The defense magically gets better. He magically puts Myles Garrett at defensive tackle for the 5th time all year, which he should be doing it more, and Myles Garrett gets a sack. Like, he's doing things now that we've been wanting him to do all year. So what do you think is Joe Woods' job status?
The way I see it is that we shouldn't have to wait until the season is over for the defense to start playing well. I don't care if they're playing well, because it took them until weeks 16, 17, and 18 for them to start playing well. Like, I know that people think that Joe Woods is safe. And I think, in another universe where this is year 1 of Joe Woods, maybe he would be. But this is a trend. You can't have a trend of, hey, we start out the season and our defense is absolutely terrible. It is completely incompetent, It doesn't work. It does I shouldn't have to wait until I'm completely over the defense. I'm done with it. I don't care about it anymore. I want the whole thing gutted. I shouldn't have to wait until that happens to start seeing players be put in situations where they're going to win. It's like even last year where it's like, hey, Baker has to hey, we're giving him a million chances. He plays like crap. And then at some point he plays good. It's like, well, obviously at some point he's got to play good, but it doesn't matter. He's not good enough to win because he's not consistent enough. And it's just like this. Sure, Denzel Ward made an insane play. Grant Delpit looks like he's becoming one of the best free safeties in the league. He's everywhere. He's doing everything you want him to do. He was in the wrong position. You put Myles Garrett at defensive tackle and no one can stop him because how the heck are you going to guard him? I mean, all this stuff is happening. And we have to ask, why did it take so long? You've been the head of this defense for 3 years now. And every year, it seems like the defense starts out really slow and really bad. And then the last couple of weeks, they're really good. It happened last year. It happened in 2020. It happens almost every year this exact same way, except this year, your defense wasn't just bad. It was historically terrible at blocking, at getting into going into the correct gaps, run defense. I mean, it was awful. I mean, you gave up 14 points to Joe Flacco in 1 minute and 30 seconds. What else do I even have to say?
Should have been fired after that game, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Exactly. I don't care what he does for the last 3-4 games of the season because the games don't matter then. It doesn't matter. Is it cool that you beat a team like the Commanders who you would think the players were trying to win because obviously they want to make the playoffs? Yeah, that's great. But at the same time, why couldn't you beat all these other teams like the Falcons and the Jets and that were also trying to win and are, at least on paper, worse than you? It just doesn't make sense. I just don't. I don't like even the idea of him staying because I think that this is just people coping and hoping that, oh, maybe he'll be fixed and then next year we'll come in and we'll be this good, because we won't, because we never are. It's always like this. Last year we tried to buy ourselves into, guys, we're going to be awesome. It might the offense might be harsh, but hey, the defense will carry us to wins. And then what happened? We got screwed. That's what happened. So no, I don't care what happens the rest of the way. I don't care if we come out and look like the old school. I don't care if we look at like the Legion of Boom out there. I don't care. I want this guy gone. I don't care.
I'm right there with you, dude. I really am. And the Browns defense since week 7, according to Jake Trotter, opposing raw QBR, they're first. Opponent total QBR adjusted for quarterback strength, they're second. Opponent QBR versus man coverage, they're first. EPA 5th. Efficiency 5th. Pass yards allowed 1st. INTs per attempt 7th. And yards allowed per dropback 4th. We get it. The secondary is good. That's not a secret. I think for me, and you see this, and this is the thing. It does take this defense, for whatever reason, until 3/4 of the year to actually get it together. The thing that's really frustrating for me with this defense, and has been all year, the miscommunications when you're in the same scheme you've been in for 3 years. Why is that still occurring? Why? And Joe Woods even came out and said, going in, he was asked about if if defensive tackle would be an issue. He said no, and he said it's on us as coaches. So essentially what you're admitting is that your scheme sucks and that you didn't have a way to stop the run.
I could have told you that.
It's one of these things, man. What more do we need to see out of Joe Woods? Great. We look great at the end of the season. If the defense was like this, maybe the first half of the year, you know what? We might have clinched or could clinch a playoff berth on Sunday.
100%.
But because they sucked the first, 7 weeks of the season, this is where we're at. And I think you need a new voice there. You could say whatever you want. You need somebody that's going to use the players to their strengths. And that's something that one of my candidates I love, Jim Schwartz, would do. Brian Flores would do. There's a lot of guys that would use the strength of some of these defensive players. And before we move on, Jack, and talk a little, take a break and then talk Browns Steelers briefly before we give our weekly pick'ems. A guy that I think has become a building block, and sometimes you just have to be patient with guys, and especially a guy who ruptured his Achilles tendon his rookie year. Grant Delpit is a player. This is a guy who, again, people were saying at the beginning of the year that he's a bust. It's fine. I get it. It's his third year. But what people don't take into account with Grant Delpit, he missed his entire rookie season. His second year essentially was his rookie year due to the fact that he was injured and missed his entire season. He now on the season has 71 solo tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 10 passes batted away. And he's your top tackler. Grant Delpit is a building block moving forward. What are your thoughts on the third-year safety out of LSU?
Oh no, he's just been fantastic the last couple of weeks. Just the way that he's been able to really fill in that free safety role and just completely dominate. I mean, like we were all concerned at just what this defense was going to look like when you have a guy like JOK go out who is explosive and he gets to the ball and he's got great instincts to be able to stop run plays. I mean, Grant Delpit, he looks even better than JOK was earlier in the season. Like the way he's able to get downhill, stop runs. I mean, him and Jacob Phillips last week, or not Jacob Phillips, excuse me.
Reggie Ragland?
No, not Reggie Ragland.
Deion Jones?
Deion Jones. Yeah. Like him and Deion Jones were just completely shutting down any attempts from Washington to try to get outside. I mean, if they were giving it to Terry, if they were giving it to Brian Robinson, or I forget who their second running back is, Williams. They were
Jonathan Williams. Yeah,
Jonathan Williams. They were trying a lot of ways to get guys outside, and I mean those guys were just not having. I mean, Grant Delpit was just fantastic. I mean, he had that really nice interception in the end zone too. Like his athleticism, his speed, his just instinct for getting to the ball and making the tackle is just great. And I mean, his form has just been fantastic the last couple of weeks.
And what's ironic about Grant Delpit is one of the things him coming out of LSU they said was an issue with his tackling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see an issue with his tackling.
Not right now. I don't.
So that brings up a really good question with Grant Delpit. Is this? It's a tough call because you've only really seen one second half of the season year production, like consistent production. Is this somebody, because he's going into the final year of his contract in 2023, is this someone you try to get ahead of in a contract extension?
I think based off what we've seen, probably you're going to want to try to extend him at least at some point this offseason. I don't know if they're going to do it right after the season ends or if they're going to maybe try to see if they want to, bring him in for maybe like another year and just see how he does next year, or if they want to maybe see if they're getting a new coordinator and see how the coordinator thinks of him or something like that. But I think that he is some guy that they should probably try to lock up just to make sure that they have all of their defensive players that they know are studs and that they know that they want to keep moving forward signed long-term. Because I mean, you already have Miles there. You have Denzel. Greg is coming up too, probably this year or next year. And you probably want to get Grant Delpit because in a year or two, you're probably also going to be thinking about MJ Emerson. So you're probably going to want to start getting guys on here. That way you can maybe start to work on the contract moving forward as the cap continues to grow. So I think they probably want to get him now because before the cap explodes, that way the value doesn't completely, shift everything.
It's a difficult situation because you haven't seen enough real production to want to give him that contract. But if you don't get ahead of it, he's going to probably price himself out at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to give a safety Jamal Adams type money.
Yeah.
Which if he continues on this trajectory, and I'm not saying he's Jamal Adams, I'm not. If he continues on this trajectory though, next year, he's going to get paid somewhere. And it's not.
Someone's going to pay him.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be Cleveland. I think this offseason, there's someone they could pair with Grant Delpit, and they'll put Grant Delpit more at strong safety again. Jesse Bates, come on down from Cincinnati. And you're looking at Jesse Bates probably 11, 12 million a year. That makes it tough on a Grant Delpit extension. But I think the Browns want to extend DPJ. We've already talked about that. You're looking at probably 11 million for him per year. So Andrew Berry structures his contracts favorably. But you're going to have to start making some decisions on some of these guys because you mentioned Greg Newsome. They'll pick up that fifth-year option.
Yeah.
But maybe, I'm not saying they do this. What if Greg Newsome could get you a young D tackle that's proven success or a young speedy wide receiver like a Jerry Jeudy? That's where it gets interesting because you're going to pick up that fifth year, but then you're going to have to decide if you want to extend Greg Newsome because you're not going to be able to pay Newsome, Denzel, and MJ Emerson.
Yeah.
You're not. It's not going to be possible. And then unless you decide to trade Denzel. So,
well, I think that's going to be the big thing is that once Greg's contract really comes up, which I mean, Greg was drafted in 2020 or 21, I forget.
21 because Jed Wills was drafted in 2020.
Okay, so 2021. So we still have like 2 or 3 years before they start really thinking about picking up his option. I think that within the next 2 years, they'll really know whether or not Greg Newsome is that guy, and then they might try to just move off of Denzel Ward. I think that's the likely trajectory of what we're looking at right now. Just because obviously Denzel's great, but he does have a slight injury history, and I just don't know if they're going to be willing to give him a second contract because, I mean, he's like 27, 26 right now?
Denzel Ward is, I'm going to look this up real quick. He is 25, actually.
Okay, so he's 25. So actually, it wouldn't be too crazy. But I think that they'd rather have Greg Newsome on a 5-year deal than Denzel Ward at 30 on a 5-year on like a 2 or 3 year deal.
And I agree with that. The situation gets tough though if you still have Greg Newsome just in the slot the next couple of years. Yeah. Because if then you are saying you're gonna, because I don't disagree with that premise, but if you say then that you're gonna extend Greg Newsome and trade Denzel, if Greg Newsome's been playing out of the slot that whole time, man, that's asking I know you're a pro and whatnot. It's not easy to go from a slot corner to an outside corner. I mean, we see guys struggle with that all the time and go from outside to a slot. So how they manage this, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's an awesome problem to have, but again, these are all decisions down the line that Andrew Berry is going to have to make. Before we talk a little Browns and Steelers, Jack, we're rocking it tonight as we do every show. You finally got yours on.
That's right. That's right.
What almond shirt you rocking tonight?
I'm rocking the Browns Bud Light shirt, man.
Do you have the fridge?
I don't have the fridge. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big drinker, but I do drink Bud Light. That's the only beer I drink. So I had to get this one.
What did you like most about that shirt?
Well, so I have a couple of shirts, but these homage shirts, you would expect because I get a lot of Browns, sports paraphernalia and stuff, and most of their stuff is okay, but it's relatively like cheap stuff. It's just stuff like you could get at like a Giant Eagle or whatever, and then they just print on it. This stuff is not that. Stuff is soft. It is flexible. It is breathable. I mean, you could wear it basically outside when it's hot, inside when it's cold. It feels great. It looks awesome. I mean, this stuff is high quality. Like, this is not the stuff that you see at Giant Eagle. This stuff is actual brand. It's an actual brand. It's actual brand. It's printed on there, so it looks nice. It's going to last a long time. It's super high quality. And I mean, I have Ohio State stuff. I have Guardian stuff. So I have shirts for basically almost every team except for a Cavs shirt. I don't have a Cavs shirt yet. I need to get a Cavs shirt. But the options, the comfort, the variety they have, homage is awesome. And they're and they can just provide you with anything you want with great prices, great comfort, great value. I mean, they're just an awesome, and especially for Christmas, that was probably the best thing that you could have got somebody.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, once again, I'm wearing the Cleveland Browns brownie. So comfortable, dude. And I was wearing my Cavs. I wore my Cavs one for work today, Cavs sweater. Dude, I have so much homage gear. The only reason I'm wearing this one again is it's just really warm.
Mhm.
So, dude, everything about their clothing. One, it's warm. If it's a sweater or sweatshirt, it's comfortable first and foremost. I think for me, that's the thing that sticks out the most. I love Nike Dry Fit. I love Adidas Dry Fit. I love Dry Fit shirts. I do. I like the fabric. You're not going to find from any major brand out there a shirt, sweatshirt, sweatpants that is softer than homage. You're not. And again, the prices are very reasonable, especially with inflation these days. I mean, milk eventually is going to be $50 a gallon, but that's one of the things. I think they're very reasonably priced, and they have discounts for you. I mean, if you're going on the first time, like your first time going to homage.com, it'll be right there for you. You go to homage.com, they'll actually offer you a discount as soon as you go to the website for the first time. So they have deals all the time. I mean,
and that's how they get you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
because you start buying stuff, and then you realize how awesome the stuff is from there, and you're like, I need more shirts. I need more of my wardrobe to be made of homage stuff. And trust me, it's going to happen to you. It will happen to you.
Oh, it's happened to me. It's definitely happened to me, man. I mean, like right now you get 20% off NBA gear. I mean, 20% off, dude. I mean, the Cavs are contending in the East. Donovan Mitchell just scored 71 points the other night. Go get your gear from homage.com. And if they ask, tell them Network 216 sent you. We're proud to be a partner of Homage Athletic Apparel. Jack, we're kind of going to like wrap it up here. We're not going to talk a whole lot about the Steelers just because we talked a lot about Damar Hamlin. That was the most important thing to talk about. The Browns traveled to Pittsburgh to end the season. A statistic I pointed out for those of you that are into sports betting and deciding to take the Browns, since they've came back to Cleveland, have ended the season in Pittsburgh 8 times. The Browns in that span are 0-8 in Pittsburgh, have never won the last game of the year in Pittsburgh. Just to point that out to everybody. So, Jack, they're going to Pittsburgh. They have an opportunity in front of them that's kind of a rare opportunity, seriously. They have an opportunity to end Pittsburgh's season Sunday at 1 o'clock. I didn't think Pittsburgh would be a playoff team.
Neither
but
did
I'll tell you what, Kenny Pickett, not saying he's going to be great by any means, but what he's doing is what Derek Carr did for years with the Raiders. Wins games in the fourth quarter. Doing what Jimmy G's done for years. Wins games in the fourth quarter.
Just barely.
It's what he's doing. But that's all you can ask, man.
It is.
Win the game. So what needs to happen on Sunday for the Browns to win for the first time in Pittsburgh at the end of the season since they've returned to Cleveland? What needs to happen?
Well, I think for number one, you need to keep moving Myles Garrett around. You need to get Myles Garrett started early. You need to get Kenny Pickett really uncomfortable because at this current moment, Kenny Pickett has 6 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He's prone to making mistakes. Not to say that all of those interceptions are entirely his fault or anything like that, but he's a young rookie quarterback, and he has not played against Myles Garrett yet. Myles Garrett, he missed out on the first week. He didn't get to play him in that Thursday night game, but he gets a chance now to really understand what it's like to have to run away from Myles Garrett. And I think that that's one thing that you really need to get set up early. You need him to fear Myles' speed, him coming off the edge. You need to make it so that he tries to get the ball out quickly, that he tries to, tries to do too much and hopefully makes a mistake, which again, he's a rookie quarterback. They're prone to doing that. I think that's the major thing. And the other thing is just to make sure that their running game doesn't get any sort of help, because Najee Harris, he has not been good this year. He's been very average, below average almost in most statistics. And if you can just keep that part of the game shut down and make it so that they have to rely on the pass game for the majority of this game, then that allows Myles to go to work. That allows this defensive line to go to work. And it allows guys like Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward and MJ Emerson to make the biggest impact possible on the game, shutting down guys like George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth, who are really kind of like the guys that you need to worry about in this Pittsburgh offense. Yeah,
I think as far as on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you really really hit the nail there. Got to get Myles Garrett going. I think that's a given. I need to see some from Clowney in this game. He did play on Sunday. I thought he played well against Washington. Continue to see Perry and Winfrey improve will be huge. Grant Delpit, obviously, is huge in this game. So, defensive side, make Kenny Pickett beat you. Najee Harris has had good games against the Browns in his career. So, you got to contain Najee Harris. I think that's what you have to do. And you mentioned Najee's not had a good year, and that is correct. He has been better the second half of the year. Really, Pittsburgh's offense has been better the second half of the year. So, something to watch there. On the offensive side of the ball, I think it begins and ends with protecting Deshaun Watson. TJ Watt, that defense is completely night and day without TJ Watt. And they are one of the best defenses in the league when they have TJ Watt. TJ Watt is trying to clinch a playoff berth for Pittsburgh. Man, Jack Conklin better be ready. Or James Hudson, because James Hudson might have to start on Sunday.
God.
So
I'm not happy about that prospect at all, because I remember what happened last year when James Hudson started at right tackle.
It was bad.
It was absolutely horrendous. It was terrible. You better have one or two extra linemen out there if James Hudson is your guy, because I don't see how James Hudson is going to fare against JJ Watt after not starting almost any games this year. So
yeah, exactly, man. But again, I'm willing to give him a benefit of the doubt. He hasn't gotten a lot of playing time this year. He really hasn't. I mean, when he has played, he's looked decent. I mean, we talked about I think it was against Carolina or even against the Jets that Hudson had to step in for Conklin and actually looked solid.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he can do. But TJ Watt's just a different beast.
Yeah.
And don't forget Cam Hayward going against Jed Wills. Pittsburgh's got it, man. And they have Alex Highsmith, Devin
They have just
Bush,
so many good guys
Miles
on that defense, man. It's so crazy.
It is. You have to protect Watson in this game. Absolutely crucial, because Pittsburgh, I think they're going to stack the box and they're going to make it impossible for Nick Chubb to have a day. I really do. They're going to make Watson try and beat him. So for me, that's what you got to do. You got to protect Deshaun Watson. Begins and ends with him. And we're hoping for the best on Sunday. And that brings us to our weekly pick'ems presented by Underdog Fantasy. And Jack, for this game, I'll read off Zach. Zach DeFranco, as you can see, is no longer on the stream. He was having audio issues tonight, so he apologizes. It happens. It's happened to me. It's all good. So he is picking the Browns 27-24. Jack, who do you have winning this game?
I know, surprising. This is going to come as a surprise. I picked the Browns every single game. I'm picking the Browns. The Browns are going to win 27-23. So Zach was 1 point off from me.
Okay. What did you go last week?
I went 4-0 last week.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm 38, 29-1, which is a really weird record. But yeah, I'm
40-24. I don't know.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. That's not how the math works. There's 4 games missing there.
Yeah, I don't know it. So yeah. I went 3-1, so I'm 47-20-1. Still nuts to me. That's my record. But I don't want to do it, but it seems like every single time this year I pick against the Browns, they win.
Tyler, here's the thing. Tyler, it doesn't matter anymore. It's not like we're trying to get in the playoffs. So it's like you don't need.
Can I be real? I'll be real with you, dude. I want the Browns to win. I do. When I pick these games, I want to pick them right.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You're gonna win. It doesn't matter. Your records is gonna be better than everyone else's anyways by default. So like, even if you lose this one game, if you could lose all 4 games, it wouldn't even matter. Just be positive, damn it, for once. I don't care. I don't care about this whole, I'm not being pessimistic, I'm being realistic. I don't care. Okay? Be optimistic.
All right, I'll do it. Just to make you happy. Even if I don't 100% believe it, I'll do it. I'll pick the Browns this week.
That's right.
I'll pick them to win. And again, this is for you because it's not necessarily I believe it. I'm going to pick the Browns. I'm going to pick them to win 24-21.
Okay. Last second Cade York field goal?
No.
Okay.
Not last second. I think it's going to come down to us having to stop Kenny Pickett.
On a drive? Yeah.
Yep. I do.
Okay.
All right. And Zach's picks for this week, we'll just read off his. He's got Dallas, Jets, and the Bills.
And did he say the Browns?
Well, yeah, Browns too.
That's right.
Oh wait, timeout. Okay, never mind. He said he had the. Dude, I was so confused. Okay, he had the Bills last week, so he's not sure how we're grading that. I mean, a tie.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah, I guess it could just be a tie.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if it's going to really affect the overall
standings. We'll wait and we'll see what the NFL says they're going to do. We can do that if he really wants.
I'd put it as a tie for now.
Yeah.
But, okay. So this week he has the Browns, the Jags, Cowboys, and Packers.
The Jags, the Cowboys, and the Packers. Okay.
So who do you got? Who's your first team you got?
My first team. Oh gosh. I want to choose someone from the Tank Bowl. The Texans versus the Colts. That is an absolutely incredible matchup.
Sam Ellinger, baby.
You know what? I think that Patty Mills over there is going to in his last start for the Texans, he's going to ball out, and I think the Texans are going to beat the Colts.
And you mean Davis Mills? Right?
I know. I called him Patty Mills just because it's funny. But
no, that's fine. I just didn't.
But yeah, no, I know. I knew it was Davis Mills, but I thought Patty Mills was a funny one. But yeah, because if the Texans win, it doesn't matter. They're still the number one pick. So
yeah,
I say the Texans are gonna pull out a win over the Colts.
Okay, all right. I like it. Okay, I like that. Let's see. Man, dude, this is kind of tough. I'm gonna take Miami over the Jets. Miami,
that could be a close game, especially because I mean I'm assuming Tua is not playing.
He is not.
Yeah. So
Bridgewater might not play.
So the Dolphins. What do the Dolphins need to get into the playoffs? Like
they need to win.
No, I'm pretty sure they were lying.
You need to win in a New England loss.
Okay, that's what it is.
A random cardboard says Patty Mills checking threes into the
yes, sir.
All right, who's your next one?
Give me the Vikings over the Bears. Justin Fields is gone. My life is sad.
Yeah, Fields isn't playing.
Man, he was having such a good year after they finally realized that he can run with the ball, and it's just so sad that it all fell apart.
Yeah, it is, man. It really is. All right. The Giants have already clinched a playoff spot. I'm going to go the Eagles over the Giants.
Yeah.
The Eagles have been reeling.
Is Jalen, but we still don't know if Jalen Hurts is coming back. That's going to be a really rough one.
Well, I know. That's why I'm taking the Eagles.
Oh,
that makes it a little bit more of a toss-up that way.
Oh, dude, this is the matchup I like. Oh, yeah. Give me the Detroit Lions over the Green Bay Packers to make the playoffs. I want it so bad. I want Detroit to make the playoffs over Green Bay. I think Tyler's lagging out again. I'm almost 100% confirmed. Nope, he's back. Never mind.
So who'd you take?
I took the Detroit Lions over the Green Bay Packers to make it to the playoffs, baby.
Dude, I thought about
I
that
want
one.
it so bad. I want the Lions in the playoffs.
Well, the Baker Bros are going to want to kill me, but I'm going to take Seattle over the Rams. Seattle has to win to have a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm going Seattle here. Sorry, all you Baker fans that are still out there, but I just think Seattle's going to win.
You know, I think if you're a Seahawks fan and let's say you don't make the playoffs, you can at least go into the offseason super excited about that top 5 pick you're about to get. Gosh, almighty, that must be a great feeling.
True. Dude, that's got to be an awesome feeling, but also they got to decide what to do with Geno Smith.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult one to figure out.
That is tough because he is 31, I believe.
Yeah.
Tough situation. Someone out there would pay for Geno.
I think it's going to depend really on whether or not how confident they are at either getting one of those QBs in the top 5, or if they think that he can kind of be like a Ryan Tannehill that can at least run the team, and then you just load up with talent around him or on the defensive side or wherever they think that they need to improve. But it's definitely going to be an interesting offseason for the Seattle Seahawks. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Oh, curious to see what they do. But Jack, as we're wrapping up tonight's show, is there anything else that you want to add?
Just pray for Damar Hamlin. That's it. There's nothing really. Nothing else is really all that important, especially on the Browns side. This is all just for fun now. But really all that matters is Damar Hamlin. So just keep him in your thoughts. Donate to his toy drive or his foundation if you feel so inclined to do so. I mean, $6.5 million over like 48 hours is insane. Really shows how connected the football community is. So, just if you feel inclined, head over there. If not, then just keep him in your thoughts.
Yep. Love it. That's a great way to end the show. Nothing more for me to say because that's about what I was going to say. So great way to end the show. Guys, if you are watching us on Twitter, not subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's free. Go hit that subscribe button. Drop a like on the video. Again, it helps the YouTube algorithm grow, helps the channel grow. Doesn't cost you anything to place a like, to subscribe.
Takes one click.
Yeah, that's all it takes, man. Just takes one click. If you're not following us already on Twitter, be sure to do so at FD Podcast CLE on Twitter. Follow Jack at VLEF_, and you can follow me at T_Johnson_TJ on Twitter. We appreciate all you guys that tuned into this episode. Wasn't the easiest episode to do. Just being real with you guys. We're really honest on this show. It was not an easy episode to do. Just continue again. Pray for Damar Hamlin and his family. There's nothing else that's more important right now. Football does not matter. The only thing that matters is Damar Hamlin, and hopefully him just making progress day by day, and eventually, hopefully, waking up from all this. Yeah. So that's the most important thing. We're going to be back next week. We appreciate all you guys that tuned in tonight to this episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast. Remember, in just a little over a half hour, the Dog Chug is back on the Network 216 YouTube channel. Be sure to tune into that. We'll be back next week again, and go Browns.
Subscribe. Hit the big red button. It's a subscribe button. You just click it once and you're subscribed for free.